Today is my day. No one will get in my way. I am here on purpose. I have a purpose. All things. I will no longer stay at this mountain. I'm done losing. I will no longer play second place. And when you make that one decision, I believe that the God we serve will move heaven and hell to help you win. And I believe that a lot of you in here today, you could create your own miracle in your life tonight. Yeah, let's go, baby. What's going on, winner? This is Coach JC, and you are listening or watching the Win All Day podcast show. And I'm super stoked right now. I have the man, the myth, the legend in the house, and I'm going to introduce him in just a minute. But he's played such an instrumental part in my own life in what I am blessed to do to this day and mentor and help people win. But if you are a frequent listener, before I introduce our guest, you know what time it is. It is time for our Win All Day winning confession. If it's your first time, feel free to repeat after me. Today is my day. Nothing will get in my way of me being the best version of me. I am here on purpose. I have a purpose. I am strong. I am passionate. I am fearless. I choose faith. I was born a winner. I will win and win all day. Yes, you were born a winner, and you will win and win all day. After this episode, I am joined today by the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Mr. BEDROS KEUILIan. What is up, my guy?
Dude, what a great way to start a podcast. First off, I'm honored. Secondly, I'm ready to run through a freaking wall right now. Holy
Let's
smoke.
go, baby. Hey, let me do you the honor you deserve and just give you a little formal introduction, and then I'm going to have you introduce yourself. But if you are just tuning in and you see this beautiful guy on the screen and you have not heard of him before, then you're missing out. This is BEDROS KEUILIan. He is the founder and CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp, which is a 3 times listed on Entrepreneurial Magazine's 500 fastest growing franchises in the entire world. He is also the author of the Wall Street Journal bestseller, Man Up, and known as the hidden genius behind many of the top businesses, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders in our world. His list of clients include New York Times bestsellers, authors, celebrities, NFL athletes, Navy SEALs, and massive social influencers who turn to him, BEDROS, when they want to create highly profitable brands and businesses. As an immigrant from a communist country turned hugely successful entrepreneur and peak performance coach, BEDROS uses the stage, TV, and social media to share his immigrant edge and American dream story to help inspire audiences worldwide to reach their fullest potential in business and in life. So without further ado, the Win All Day, baby, is meeting the man up himself. Welcome to the podcast show, Mr. BEDROS KEUILIan. What's up, my guy?
Thank you, man. And first off, let me just thank you for the gear that you sent me. The Win All Day hoodie that you sent me. Listen, it doesn't get that cold in Southern California, but it still gets cold enough for me because I'm a hot-blooded motherfucker. And so with that said, I wear that hoodie all the time, and I always think of you and appreciate you for that.
That's my man. Well, after the show, I got another gift package on the way, my man. So, man, we're super stoked, man. I read that bio. Obviously, it's super impressive in what you've done. And I can't wait to get into that and how you're helping so many people be their best in business and in life. I've been blessed by you being able to sit in your mastermind, known and watched you through a newsletter for probably 15 years now. And I want to get into all that. But before we get there, man, I want to give you the opportunity. There's people obviously listening and watching today that maybe don't know who you are. And there's people that obviously do know who you are on this show. But at the same time, we see success, right? And you read that sexy bio, but a lot of people forget you had to come from somewhere. And I just want you to take the time right now, man. Tell everybody where BEDROS came from and how you got to where you are today, my man.
Yeah, so, that bio starts off with 3 times on Entrepreneur Magazine's 500 fastest growing franchises, and that's out of 175,000 franchises, and we're actually in the top 100, to be honest with you. But let me read the opposite. Let me just kind of tell you the opposite of that. The opposite of that, the bio that I believe you should read, and I'm starting to think of like maybe this should be my announcement when I take the stage or when I'm introduced. Like, let me introduce you to a foreigner who came to the United States from a communist country, who was broke, who was poor, who didn't understand the culture or speak the language, lived in Section 8 housing, had his hair washed with gasoline when he was a small kid because he had lice and his parents couldn't afford lice treatment, so they had to siphon out gasoline from a parked car, whose parents were told to go back to your own effing country, you foreigner, you're taking our American jobs, who lived off food stamps, who ate out of dumpsters, who grew up, was sexually molested, and was fired from many jobs, realized that he was meant to be an entrepreneur, failed at 3 different entrepreneurship experiences, lived in a Toyota pickup in San Diego for 3.5 months, finally clawed his way a decade and a half later to some level of success, notoriety, and then I became a 20-year overnight success at the age of 45. Like, that's the story.
Yeah.
And by the way, I left a few things out just so we don't waste time, but that's really the introduction. Like, if you want to have the bio that you read, you got to first go through all that. You have to have some level of that. And I'm not saying you got to go get sexually molested and go eat out of dumpsters, but I'm saying you got to pay your dues. You got to take your punches. You've got to get those entrepreneurial scars on your body. My body is covered with scars of lessons in mindset, in emotional toughness, in resilience, in resourcefulness, in making money, and losing hope, and losing confidence, and losing self-esteem, losing character, integrity, and respect, because it is not fun to live in a Toyota pickup and take your showers at a locker room in LA Fitness when just a few months earlier you were launching your 3rd and final business. Like, that's the reality of it.
Wow, man, you're coming out punching right now, BEDROS. First of all, I'm grateful that you're, sharing from your heart and being transparent. I think that's what the world needs more of. And I think that is the number one thing that I'm just being transparent with you that I respect about you, man. There's a lot of guys in the art industry, and I say our industry, I'm using the fitness industry because that's where we both got started, right? And I'll never forget back then, you were putting out newsletters, and I respect you then for the same reason. You were very vulnerable. You were very transparent, right? And I want you to talk about that for a second. When did you get to that point where you were comfortable and confident sharing the mess you went through that's now become your story?
Sure. It's funny you say that. So, and you kind of talked about my book, Man Up, so it's worth mentioning here. But the first time I really wrote about it, there it is. The first time I really wrote about it was in my book, Man Up, that came out 2 years ago. And JC, to be honest with you, I hadn't talked about being molested ever until I started experiencing these massive anxiety attacks about 9 years ago. And these anxiety attacks were so crippling. The first one that I had, I didn't even realize it was an anxiety attack. I thought I was having a heart attack at the age of 38, 39. And I'm like, dude, this is how I die, of a heart attack? Like, who's going to walk my daughter down the aisle? Who's going to teach my son to be a modern day knight? Who's going to protect my wife? These were the thoughts that were running through my mind as my throat was closing up, as my arms were tingling, as I had tunnel vision, my heart was racing, and I could hear the thug lug in my ears of my blood pumping. And I'm thinking, like, dude, you really effed up in life that you're dying. You own a fitness franchise and you're dying at the age of 38 of a heart attack. And I wasn't worried about dying at that point. I just bought into the idea of, like, this is how I go. I was just worried about those 3 people, my wife, my son, and my daughter, who I had a commitment to. And as I walked outside, because I was in my guest house, as I walked outside to just get a breath of fresh air and hopefully, like, maybe that would change something, I was left in a sweaty puddle and everything else went away. And I realized maybe this wasn't a heart attack. And as I went to the doctor the next day, they're like, dude, your heart's fine, but you did have a panic attack. And ironically, I had more because I thought I could just, like most men especially, I thought I could will it away. I could just, well, now that I know what I had, I'll never have another panic attack again. Like, wow. That's just called suffering in silence. That's not fixing your anxiety attacks, right? And so, JC, it was probably about 2 months after my 3rd or 4th anxiety attack that I was like, this is, I can't, I would have it in the hot tub. I was out running a mastermind in Las Vegas, and I'd get back to my hotel room after 2 days of running a mastermind, and I'd lay on my bed and just go through this anxiety attack, just crippling. And I'm like, what the hell, man? Outside, I was this guy who was fully in control and giving business advice. Deep down inside, I was a mess. And so, and the anxiety was really not so much more of a money issue, although money was a factor in our franchise. It was about poor leadership, feeling not authentic in my leadership, realizing that I might lose our Fit Body Bootcamp franchise. Like, the success that you listed about Fit Body Bootcamp should have been like the failures.
Yeah.
or twice as long. And so I share that with you because I decided that I'm going to go work with the therapist and to get over my anxiety attacks. In 4 weeks, he taught me these things. And I think I always like to share it on podcasts. And so let me share this with your audience. One, anxiety is anticipation of future pain. If you are feeling any kind of anxiety, either a massive panic attack that feels like a heart attack or just some level of anxiety where you got the jitters, your heart's racing, you're having a hard time breathing, that's anticipating future pain. In other words, there's something that you need to deal with that you haven't, and you're just waiting for it to explode. And that's anxiety. And of course, the antithesis to that is action alleviates anxiety. So go deal with the problem instead of just burying your head like I used to, right? And so he taught me those two things. Action alleviates anxiety. Anxiety is anticipation of future pain. In 4 weeks, I was fine. I was dealing with all my conversations that I should have had. And get this, as on the 4th week, his name is Kevin. I go, Kevin, thank you so much. You helped me fix my anxieties. I feel great about everything. He goes, is there anything else, Bedros, that you want to talk about? I go, no, man, look at me. I'm the specimen of good health. I'm great, right? And he goes, what about your childhood? What about your parents? I was like, look, I'm a foreigner. I come from Armenia, communist country. My dad slapped me around a bunch. No big deal. That's just how it was back then. I'm fine. He goes, anything else? I go, well, something happened to me as a kid. He goes, really? What? And I broke down and started crying. And it was the first time I volunteered the information that I was molested between the ages of 4 to 6 years old before we escaped and came to the United States. And dude, I never told this to anyone. I had carried that weight on my shoulders of feeling like I'm unlovable, I'm broken, rage, shame, confusion, right? Rage, like, why did this happen to me? Shame, I can't believe this happened to me. I can't tell anyone. And of course, confusion, did I do something to invite that? Did I do something to make myself the victim? And so imagine operating your whole life, looking at life through those lens of rage, shame, and confusion. And so I decided that, you know what? For some reason, in those 4 weeks, I built so much trust with this therapist, Kevin, that I just forfeited that information. And we spent the next 16 months every Monday on his couch processing through that. And at the end of those 16 months, I committed to writing the book, Man Up. And because I became a better leader, I became more decisive, I became more compassionate and empathetic. I wasn't such a bull in a china closet anymore because I showed up with ego and I didn't trust anyone because of what had happened to me.
Wow.
And it's so crazy. Dude, people were telling me, JC, Bedros, you look younger. Is your hair different? Did you get leaner? And all that happened was I got that weight off my shoulders after 30 some odd years.
Man, that's so powerful, man. I'm so grateful you shared that. And, you know, I think here's the first message I want the listener to hear right now, Bedros, is no matter what they've faced, no matter what they're facing at the moment, the adversity, the obstacle, the trial, the storm, physically, mentally, emotionally, relationship-wise, things that happen to them, right? You can flip it. And that's the most powerful thing. Like me personally, like I took my most painful moment of life, throwing away my basketball opportunity, over $400,000 in debt, and the fight of my life to be dad for 8 years in a custody battle. I flipped it to make that my purpose. And I want to just encourage the person listening, just pause it and listen to that again. You're listening to a guy that is at the peak right now in what he's doing in an industry and absolutely killing it. But it wasn't just the tactical things he did in business. It was more of throwing what was holding him back off emotionally. And that's powerful. How many times as men, Bedros, do we not want to address that? We and you're doing that with men right now. Now you're helping other men free themselves, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know, I think as men men can tend to be more stoic, which is fine, but we sometimes go overboard on that and we begin to suffer in silence. And for example, my wife and her friends will go out together, they'll have a glass of wine, they'll eat, and they'll have really deep conversations about things. With guys, especially, we talk about the weather as though we don't have a weather app on our phone that tells us exactly what the weather is in any corner of the world.
And who even cares?
And who cares? We talk about sports as though we're the sports team owners. Like, what do I care what sports team does what? But we talk about superficial stuff. We talk about, hey, how's work? Work's good. We never talk about the deep stuff, like what traumas are keeping you awake at night? What is your greatest fears and frustrations? What happened that you want to be able to like punch a wall that makes you want to punch a wall that you can process through? Like no guy wants to talk about that. But what I figured out one day when I was driving with my son, we were going surfing. he's a young man, and I wanted to have the birds and bees talk with him a few times. And every time I would talk to him face to face like this, it was really awkward, and he would squirm, and then I would start squirming, and it would get strange, man. And one day we're going surfing, and we're sitting in the car, and he's in the passenger seat, and we're both looking straight. And I realized in that moment, he's like, "Hey, Dad, I got a question. There's this girl, and I think I like her." And like, dude, he opened up on a deep conversation. I was like, "Oh shoot, I think there's something to this." When two men are not maybe looking eye to eye, but they're looking straight ahead, or doing something in movement, you can have a deeper conversation. So as he brought that conversation up, I brought up the birds and the bees. I'm like, wow, this was pretty easy. A few months later, I invited a group of male friends. I was like, hey, we're going to go to Vegas, but we're not going to do the stupid Vegas stuff like guys do and then regret. We're going to go and we're going to like hike at Red Rock. We're going to have intense workouts together, and we're going to break bread together. And during these hikes, I would hear these group of guys who were just friends of mine, all from different walks of life, who only had me in common. And I invited like 10 of them together. They were having deep conversations because everyone's looking straight and not at each other, and we're moving, we're doing something. And they were having deeper conversations with guys they just met. And I'm like, I'm onto something here. Men cannot sit around at a table and look at each other like the women do and have a glass of wine and talk. We need to be doing something, looking ahead. And so I created this thing called The Project, which is 75 hours of physical, mental, and emotional torture, if you will, for men, run by a Navy SEAL and a Marine who work for me. And the project is really designed to take 16 guys through a 75 hours of physical, mental, and emotional beatdowns, and to get them to build a brotherhood. We have deep conversations about the traumas that we experienced as kids or as adults. I talk about what happened to me. I always lead it off. I lead by example. And it's become this amazing brotherhood of men who stay connected, become vulnerable, are authentic, and go back home and solve their issues of addiction, of pornography, of infidelity, alcohol, and all because they were able to talk to other men and realize they're not alone.
Man, so powerful. And Bedros, I think you said something that's key there is, you don't just go to a therapist. And yeah, I believe in miracles, man. I believe that things can happen and things can flip immediately. But at the same time, what I hear you saying is you knew and you recognized as a man that this was an ongoing process for you and other men. So now you create a group and you said, not only for me personally, Bedros, but I overcame that through the counseling with my guy, Kevin. But now I want to keep this going so I don't fall back to that, but I can help other men. So talk to the man out there that's saying, man, I thought I was going to overcome it. And just like you said, I had the anxiety attacks, right? And I thought, man, I'm just going to, now I can own this. I know what it is. I'm good to go. This is an ongoing process when you are training, just like you train your body, right? Your mindset, your emotions. It's an ongoing process.
Dude, you nailed it. JC, you nailed it right there when you said train your body. You're in great shape. So if you stop working out today, keep eating the way you're eating, but stop working out today, you will not look this way 40 days from now. Your body will begin to atrophy those giant shoulders and biceps of yours because you're not moving the weight that you were. Yeah. Now, after that, if you started to eat a crappier diet, you would really atrophy and put on fat. So you cannot go, I'm happy with my body now, it's time to stop. Yep. That's when you really lean into it. And so it's the same thing with men. We put them through the project, but then we add them to a private Facebook group of all the different classes of men who have graduated. They all get introduced, and every Friday, in fact, I'm behind today. So today is Wednesday, and today I did it's called a roll call. Every Friday, every guy who's graduated does a roll call. We do a Facebook Live into the group, and we talk about our 4 F-bombs, and it's family, faith, fitness, and finances. Those 4 F-bombs. It's like, hey guys, this is Bedros checking in and just want to let you guys know, in my family, here's what's going on with Andrew. He's about to go into high school and da-da-da-da-da. Here's what's going on with my finances. Here's what's going on with my faith. And here's what's happening with my fitness and my health. And if I'm suffering about something, I know every other guy has gone through the project in that group. So whether they were in my class or someone else's class, like if I'm suffering about something, I'm like, guys, I don't know how to talk to my daughter about blah, blah, blah. Have you guys experienced this? Some dude's going to be like, man, I have. And since we've all gone through the project and since we've all suffered through that pain, we're going to have that conversation online. So I, as the leader of that group, missed this past Friday. And so I did it today, right before this Wednesday. And believe me, I've been getting called out by them every day of the week until I did it today. And it felt good to be held accountable to a group of men. you know? And so it's so important to constantly do the work. And you never want to be part of a group of men who is supposed to chime in on Friday, but you don't. And so that accountability to your brothers, the accountability to your brothers makes you do the work every week. And that's what's required.
It's powerful. I love that. I think what you said is key is this, is have people in your life that don't just tell you what you want to hear and what's comfortable. Have people in your life, and that's to me true love. Like having somebody in my life that says, JC, you're doing it wrong in your business. You're doing it wrong in your marriage. Like, here's what I see. I'm calling you out. Does that mean everything that people say about you? No, but you take things and you process it. To have brothers that you trust that are close to you, be able to say, hey, that's not okay. You said you were going to do this. Man up. Do it, right? Self-accountability is powerful. And we can talk about that all day. Most people can't win in life because they can't be accountable themselves. That's number one. Number two is, am I going to welcome accountability in my life that's uncomfortable for people to tell me what I always don't want to hear? That's super powerful. And you create that in a group. And, you know, let's pause there because I want to stop there for a second. You said the 4 F-bombs, okay? And what I do, and I'm blessed to do, I now take what I went through, created a new story, and been blessed to now coach people and help people win in life. And I help people create new stories for their life. And I think what's important that you said is this, is you don't wake up one day and just have success. It took you 20 years, right? So it's about consistency. It's about habits that you choose to do on a daily basis, rituals that you do even when you don't feel like it. That's what Win All Day is all about, right? So my point in saying that is I would love to hear from you, just straight up personal. What does BEDROS, the high performer, do on a daily basis in those 4 R's that you just said to be successful in the faith, in the finances? What's the habits that you have, the rituals you have every day? What do you do in your fitness? What do you do in your family? So give us some, let us in the life of it, man. What's your daily habits?
So first of all, it's really cool that like the name of your whole thing, your show, your brand is Win All Day, because all of like if someone said, BEDROS, what is the one thing you've done to become a multimillionaire and a business coach, an entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know what the one thing is. Like, I don't know one way to get 100 customers. I know 100 ways to get 1 customer, you know? And so when I think about what is the one win that has helped me become a multimillionaire and successful and a stage speaker, I don't know. But every day I stack little wins. And the first win of the day is I don't hit the snooze button. When my alarm goes off, I don't hit the snooze button. That's a W instead of an L. I believe that if you hit that snooze button first thing in the morning, you're telling your subconscious mind that 10 more minutes of interrupted sleep is more valuable than getting up and living your purpose. And that already starts ruining your day. Another win.
Just pause there. Like, have you ever said that and people think like that's stupid? Like it's such a basic thing that I see and I hear people like, well, that's, man, you're come on, that can't be it. You're over exaggerating. It's just hitting the snooze button. But what you're saying is you're training your subconscious mind to start your day not doing what you say you're going to do.
Exactly.
Like that's so powerful.
Oh, dude. And when I do, because look, I hear from skeptics all the time, like, really, a snooze button, 10 more minutes is going to ruin my whole life. I'm like, well, listen, let's go there. So after the snooze button, if I don't hit the snooze button, then I drink 30 ounces of water immediately, because I've been, you get dehydrated at night when you sleep. 30 ounces of water. So if I'm drinking 30 ounces of water, that's great. The next thing is I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to have a healthy, high protein, low sugar meal. Now, if I decide to skip my 30 ounces of water, I'm more likely to skip a healthier meal. If I skip a healthier meal, I'm less likely to go to the gym and do my 9 a.m. workout. You see how the dominoes begin to fall? Because one L increases the likelihood, scientifically increases the likelihood of another L, another loss, by like 180%. Whereas one W increases the likelihood of another W by 180%. So if I know that, I want to stack all the little W's throughout the day. Like in my first 2 hours of the day, I probably get about 20, 30 little W's. One of my W's is to send out 3 gratitude text messages to 3 people in my life within the first hour of waking up. Just not a long paragraph, just, hey, Ed, I'm really grateful for you for being an amazing videographer. Thank you so much, B, right? And just that, sending out 3 gratitude text messages puts me in a state of gratitude. And I kept my word to myself. And your word to yourself is what builds confidence and credibility with yourself. So one, stack wins, because I don't know one big win that's made me successful. I know a lot of little wins over a long period of time have made me successful. Number 2, where health is concerned, just eat clean, train dirty, like period. Like when I say train dirty, train until you're sweating and you're out of breath and like a murderer is trying to catch you and you're running away from them. Like
Well, and here's what's cool that people don't know, but man, I've been out to your spot in San Diego and in Chino Hills, excuse me. And man, one of your goals and your dreams was to have your own gym, your own training facility. You have your own private training facility. We got to train there. We hung out, worked out. How cool is that though, man? You said, I'm going to build something that's my own. And that was a dream of yours and you did it.
That's exactly it. And you know, when you were able to set a goal and you achieve it, it builds a level of confidence that you didn't have previous to that. And so it's now that's stacking a big goal, right? Like that's a big win. But that big win of owning a personal gym came from all the little wins of selling enough franchises, helping enough franchisees, helping enough of their clients get in shape, lose fat, stay connected and happy, so that I can make enough money to finally buy my own building and open up my own private gym where only me and my friends and can work out in there. Like, what a great feeling. So again, even that is a lot of little wins stacked over time. So, but it's things like, dude, it's like drinking your water, eating clean, training dirty. It's showing gratitude. It's having date nights with my daughter where family is concerned. It's having a set date night with my wife. Like today's Wednesday, it's date night, period. And now a lot of my clients know about it. They don't even set up a coaching call for a Wednesday because they know it's not going to happen. Yep. It's date night. Why do that? So, and then of course my finances. Like I really believe that when people say, you know, money's not the end all be all, I do believe it is. It kind of is actually, because I do a lot more good with my money by helping Shriners Children's Hospital, Toys for Tots, Compassion International than if I didn't have money. If I didn't have money, I'd be the guy standing there and going, someone should do something about that. By having money, I can put my money to work for the charities and causes I believe in. So, you know, that's the F in the financing, right? In the 4 F bombs. And then the faith. Hey man, I don't know if someone believes in a God, if they believe in the universe and karmic justice, or just faith in themselves. But what is the faith that you have that makes you realize that you weren't an accident? You're here for a reason. There's a purpose for you to be here, and there's a potential for you to reach. And that is the journey of life. Like that is having faith in yourself and the higher power that I'm not an accident and that I'm here on purpose and there's a potential for me to reach. And so we always stay connected to those 4 F bombs for that reason. And when you do, life is easy. When you don't, life gets hard.
Man, it's so powerful, Bedros. And I mean, what you're saying resonates with me because this is what I've done for so many years. It's what I did to get out of depression, suicide, $400,000 a day. It's just stack wins. When it looks so big, right, for so many people, they have so much weight to lose. They have so much debt to get out of, the business to start, the marriage. A lot of people don't ever get started, right? It's the law of compounding. You know, if you could just stack those wins every single day, eventually it's going to add up to a big victory. And I want you to talk about this for a second, the faith pillar, because for me, I believe the greatest belief you could ever have is the belief in God or creator. The second greatest belief you could ever have is a belief in you, right? A belief in you and who you were born to be, who you are and who you can become. Like there's people listening right now, the reason they're not having a success is because they don't have hope. They don't have belief in them. What are some things, some strategical things, tactical things that the person on the other side listening today could say or watching could say, Bedros, man, I struggle with that faith one. Man, what's something I could do on a daily basis to build that faith, to build that self-esteem, that self-confidence? Because here's what we know. Self-esteem, how you view you directly is going to affect how you show up in the world. And if you view yourself in a negative way, you're going to show up or you're going to pull back and retreat and not show up. And then you never fulfill your calling. You never let the world experience who you were called to be. So what's some things that person on the other side could do to build that faith and that belief on a daily basis to stack the wins, man?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So let's just talk about that for a minute. I'm a believer in faith. I'm not a believer in religion, right? And I think I really want to stress that because I don't think any one religion that's ever hit the nail on the head. And I do believe most religions are by design to shackle the human consciousness. Let's talk about that for a moment. If anyone's ever read anything from Joseph Campbell, then you would know that he talks about there's a human animal, and there's consciousness. And I really believe that the only difference between us and a dog or a cow or whatever is that we are self-aware of our abilities. Like we are self-aware of our emotions. We are self-aware of our anger, of our jealousies, right? Now that doesn't mean we have control over it. That's where master of emotional discipline, that we have to master that. So to go from a human animal to consciousness, to a human being, not everybody walking on this planet is a human being, my friend. There's a lot of human animals that operate off of impulse, emotions, and feelings. And I always tell people from stage, I say, your feelings and emotions are liars. If you didn't get enough sleep, last night because you just had too much caffeine in your system. You might be fatigued. And if you're fatigued, you might have a shorter fuse today, and you might start getting frustrated and angry at every little thing. And if you start making bad decisions on temporary feelings that you're having because you don't have emotional discipline, you might end up eroding a business, a relationship, your health, whatever, right? Suicide. When you look at suicide, suicide is making a permanent decision on a temporary feeling. If you just wait it out, talk to someone, seek help, you will get on the other side of suicide. You will find, and all suicide, the reason we think suicide is because we lose hope. If we can just go spend the time to find hope, we would get past that temporary feeling. So anyway, I share this with you because I'm a big believer in finding consciousness, getting connected with the universal beliefs consciousness. Where that comes from is self-awareness, self-discipline. It comes from personal growth. It comes from self-evolvement. Whether you're reading Tony Robbins or you're following you, JC, or you're a big Ed Milet fan, whatever it is, or you're putting yourself through adversity and challenges, something hard every weekend. For example, the Japanese do this thing every year, not all of them, some of them, called misogi. And what misogi is putting yourself through a massive challenge. Like one thing this gentleman does is every year he trains himself to go once a year, stand under a heavy waterfall for 4 hours. He just stands there and just goes into himself, into his consciousness, and goes into a meditative trance under that waterfall. Training for that all year, and then being able to do that for 4 hours gives him enough victory and confidence for the entire year. And so what are we doing? Like every weekend, I do jujitsu for 2 hours. Well, before COVID, I'm going to start back up again as soon as we start here. But every Sunday it was jujitsu for 2 hours. And then I would train legs. And then my wife and I and the kids would hike for 3.5 miles up in the hills. That is very taxing on my body. But it prepared me for Monday. As an entrepreneur, Mondays, as you know, are very challenging. By putting myself through hardship, I learned something about myself that weekend. I'm like, come on, Monday, bring it on. So I built faith in myself. And so there's so many layers to faith, outside faith, faith in people and coaches that we trust, faith in ourselves and in our word and our integrity. That's why if you break a promise to yourself, you begin to lose faith in yourself. You begin to lose credibility. And when you lose that credibility, there goes confidence.
Man, so powerful. You know, first of all, I think one of the things I want to address is the first thing you said is about, you know, I don't believe in religion. I believe in faith. And I think that's powerful. Here's why. Because I think our country right now, if you're listening to this podcast, you know, or watching this podcast, like right now, we're getting through the COVID. And then we have this whole other situation going on with race and, you know, riot and protesting. And a lot of that comes down to you cannot listen. Most people cannot listen to somebody else say something that they disagree with and have a normal dialogue, a conversation. Like I could sit here right now and tell you, you know, I love you as a brother. I think the world of you and what you've done. You know, I'm so blessed you're on this podcast, and I could still disagree with you. And I think what you just said is so powerful to have a dialogue with people that most people get trapped in their own belief system. They put blinders on. This is all I see. And if that's all you ever see, you'll never have faith in anything or yourself. I think that's a powerful thing you said. I mean, how many people have you disagreed with on what you just said? I mean, there's people that believe in God. There's people that believe in religion.
Exactly. One of my dearest friends, Jason Redmond, a Navy SEAL, who was in 2007, was shot across the body in the face, nose was blown off. They had to helicopter him out. He's a dear friend of mine. In fact, he talks about me in his second book, Overcome, and calls me a coach, mentor, and a dear friend. Like, we don't agree on a religious perspective, but we're dear friends, and I know he'd take a bullet for me, and I would take a bullet for him. It's just we have very two different perspectives there. And how cool is it that you could actually disagree with someone, but still have enough self-awareness to go, you know what? At the end of the day, we're still providing for people and we're protecting people. And that is the core values that we share. And so who cares if we disagree on one topic? No big deal, man. But the problem is, and going back to what happened with George Floyd and this stuff now, you see people like because of something that's so thin. I don't have a dime here, but what do I have? I do have a dime. I don't know if people can even see this dime.
Yeah, absolutely.
The average thickness of the human skin.
Yeah.
About 1 to 4 millimeters, depending on the part of your body, on your palms or the bottoms of your feet or your skin, 1 to 4 millimeters. To think that This thickness of skin is what we begin to judge people on, instead of on their character. I will always judge you on your character, on your integrity. I will never judge you on your color, because you peel that 1 millimeter of skin off and doggone it, man, we're the same color, we're the same insecurities, same desires, same fears. Come on, man, we're not any different.
Man, I appreciate you sharing that. I think a lot of times you have a different perspective when you come from a different country. And I think a lot of Americans, we get so entitled, right? We have our belief systems. You came from a different country. You talk about in your book, eating food out of a dumpster. You know, I think the appreciation that you have for life is different. And like for me, like the heart of compassion and empathy that I see through you, even though you're tough and you force people and push people and pull people and you hold them accountable, that's what makes you great at what you do. But I know you still have like a ridiculous heart for people, man. It's compassion, empathy. You say, man, I want to see you win so bad. Like, and that's what makes you a great coach.
Thank you.
So I respect that. And we could talk all day. I want to respect your time. I mean, not only life, we've gotten a lot of life stuff and I love it, but you wrote an amazing book called Man Up. You're very vulnerable in that book. And the book is for life. It's how to cut out all the nonsense in your life. You let that emotional stress go that's holding you back. And you talk about 6 pillars in there, how to lead yourself and lead an organization as an entrepreneur. We don't need to get in all of them. I would just love for you to touch on maybe one of the pillars, touch on something from your book that you think can resonate with the listeners, man.
Sure. So there's 6 pillars of what I call entrepreneurial discipline or entrepreneurial leadership, but really it's about leadership in business and in life because they're so synonymous, right? Like if you're running a group of employees, it's no different than running your kids and your family, right? Like you have to have some level of respect. There has to be vision for where's this family going? Like, where's this business going? Who's in charge? We can't have 3 chefs in the kitchen. We got to have 1 chef. So of the 6 pillars, let's touch on 2 things that really matter. Pillar number 1, and this is the pillar that most people have the indigestion with, because when I talk about being an effective leader, they go, yeah, I just need to develop my team and they need to become better. They need to become more disciplined. My employees need to show up on time. My employees need to know what they're, well, that's all great, but are you self-disciplined? Pillar number 1 is lead yourself before you can lead others. No one wants to hear that, you know, if I go outside right now in our parking lot in our building here, and there's about 8 or 10 different office buildings out here, so you can imagine hundreds of cars. If I start looking into car windows, I will see cars that have, you know, sandwich wrappers and old Starbucks cups that are empty and clothes in the back seat from 3 or 4 days ago that they haven't taken out. If that car is a mess, I believe how you do anything is how you do everything. And so if your car is a mess, I guarantee you, your workspace, your desk, if we can find out whose car that is and go into their office space is a mess. That means the work they do is a mess. Their finances are a mess. Their relationship is probably a mess, because how you do anything is how you do everything. And so how are you leading yourself in your 4 F-bombs, family, faith, fitness, and finances, right? How disciplined are you? What's your morning routine? So that's number 1 is self-discipline and being a better leader. And the other pillar I want to really talk about is pillar number 4, which is decisiveness. Decisiveness is so important. In fact, General Norman Schwarzkopf once said that indecision cost Americans more money than making the wrong decision. Like, think about how powerful that is. So if JC has a decision to make in his business and you're waiting to get 100% of the facts so you can make the right decision every time, you will lose. You will lose. There's no scenario in life, in battle, in business, in relationships where you will have 100% of the facts to make the right decision. So Colin Powell says, he calls it the 40-70 rule. If I have as little as 40% of the information, as much as 70%, I'm ready to make a decision. And so I say, make a decision. Doesn't have to be the right decision, but if you come at a fork in the road, if you're waiting to get the right information to pick the right fork in the road, be quick, be decisive, make a decision. If it's the wrong decision, you'll find out and you'll come back to the right decision. That's the difference. And most leaders in family, in relationships, are too indecisive. They take forever. And usually a decision is made for you, and it's rarely in your best interest.
Man, so powerful. That's only 2 of the pillars. But I think what you just said is key, because here's what I've discovered. Sometimes I made a decision. It didn't look like the right decision, but I took action. And you know what? That led me to the next decision I had to make, and 4 decisions down the road, hey, something happened awesome, right? But that first decision, it didn't work out. But if I never took that first decision and made that first decision, I would have never got to the 4th one, right? So I think what you said is key. And that's only two. I mean, you have self-discipline, clear and effective communication, decisiveness, emotional resilience, clarity of vision and path, high performance team. Bedros, I bought probably, I don't remember exact, 15 when you first released these, and I gave them out 2 years ago for Christmas. I can honestly tell you this. I've done that multiple times for Christmas, for holidays. I've never had a larger response. I gave them to men in my life, clients, people I love, friends. I never had a bigger response of, after people read this, thank you. I can't, JC, that book changed my life. Your buddy Bedros is the man. Oh my gosh, now I'm gonna start following, listen to this podcast. And here's why. It's not just a book to read. This is a manual. Like, this is a blueprint. Like, right, implementation. If you implement it, it'll work in your life. But retention without implementation is useless. There's a manual inside of here that could radically change your life and your business. And I think that's what you did that makes this book a great success. It's not just a great read. There's stories in there, and that's great. But you give people an exact blueprint to do in those 6 pillars that could radically, they don't need anything else. If they were decisive and took action on these 6 things, they could radically change their life or business.
It literally changed my entire relationship. It changed my business. It changed me physically. And so I would hope it would do that for others.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm grateful for you. I know your time is valuable. It is date night. You know, I don't want your wife to get angry at me. But real quick, just run through what you're doing, where people can find you. You have the podcast. You have the Man Up book. You have the project. You have Fit Body. Just give us everything you're doing, man.
Yeah, so you pretty much listed it. We have the project. We have Fit Body Bootcamp. The project is a self-development program for men that's 75 hours, run by a Navy SEAL and a Marine and myself and a few others. And Fit Body Bootcamp is a global fitness franchise. They're located in most major cities. And of course, the book Man Up, and of course, the Empire podcast, which is free. We don't even have any sponsors for it. We just give free information to serve people and make them into better leaders, entrepreneurs, and people who want to reach their fullest potential. And really, if there's any one place to follow me, I would say to follow me on Instagram, because I'm just so fascinated with that platform and I'm very active on it. And I personally respond back. So that's the place to connect with me.
Awesome. And the thing you didn't mention that's huge and everybody can't get in is obviously your high-end coaching, your performance coaching, your business coaching, consulting, and really the mastermind. I mean, that's a high ticket. I mean, you got to work your way in. And once you get in, you can change your business and life.
Well, here's the funny thing about that too. I didn't mention it, and I appreciate you mentioning it, but I didn't mention it because during this COVID-19, the last 12 weeks, I gained more coaching clients that I could handle. And I understand why. A lot of entrepreneurs who haven't gone through uncertainties like I have, were like, it's worth paying $50,000 to work with this guy and help him navigate my business and my decisions so that I could thrive. But I literally have no more room in my coaching programs at all these days, and I'm very thankful for that, which is why I didn't mention it. But yeah, that is the high-end stuff where I could literally influence your business in a big way. All
right, guys, man, if you're listening right now, you're listening to Bedros Keuilian. Man, we're so grateful for your time, the seeds that you have sowed today into the lives of our Win All Day audience. Man, we're believing that you're going to be supernaturally blessed. We speak favor over your life physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, your relationships, your date night tonight. Everything you do, man, we believe that you touch is going to prosper. Bedros, man, I want to give you this opportunity. Any closing thoughts as we conclude the show from Bedros Keuilian?
The only closing thought I can give you this is what Kevin gave me, my therapist gave me some 4 or 5, 6 years ago now. And he said, hey, Bedros, just so you know, there's this book of life. And when we're born, someone else has the pen. And, because you're a baby. So they decide what color clothes JC is going to wear and what JC's favorite colors are and what JC is going to eat, etc. But at some point, you have to take the pen back because understand there's a lot more empty pages and you decide how the story goes and how the story ends. And far too often, we just end up giving the pen to everybody in our life and they write our life stories and we don't. And if there's one thing I could encourage your staff or your team, I should say, and your tribe, it is to take back the pen and fill up those empty pages that await you.
Man, come on, brother. Man, I'm so grateful for you. You heard it from Bedros. Write the story for your life. This is Coach JC, who loves you. I love you. Reminded one last time that you were born a winner. So go win and win all day. Bedros, much love. Thank you, my guy.
Thank you, friend.